The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast.
What's up, everybody? This is Dark Macek with Brutally Delicious, coming at you with a review of ELEINE's brand new album, We Shall Remain. So I had previously seen ELEINE on 70,000 Tons of Metal, and I thought they were really fun live. I'm normally not into bands that use 7-string guitars as their primary instrument, but since they were so much fun live, I figured I'd give this one a go. Stylistically, I would say I was kind of surprised. Not in the sense that they suddenly put out a black metal album, but a lot of their riffs could have been on a Megadeth album. And it's interesting because roughly half of it is that style, like Megadeth-style riffs, but then when the vocals come in, they go into their signature melodic style of metal. I'm not sure what to call it. So when you compare this to other bands that I could say that about, something like Battlecross, some of their riffs could be on Megadeth albums for sure, but they're not nearly as melodic as ELEINE is. Contrast this with something like Rhapsody. They definitely know how to riff hard, and they have just as much melody as ELEINE, but they don't sound like Megadeth. I'm really going to have to think on this, but I think for now this is kind of a unique pairing. Now for the non-Megadeth portions, some other bands came to mind. I was thinking of like Amaranth meets Devil Driver meets Seven Spires. Those are all pretty different, but it works. Take a listen and tell me if I'm nuts. The production is great. I want to drive to this. I live in Manhattan, and I'm a big proponent of mass transit, but this makes me want to go borrow a friend's car, go like 80 miles an hour, and blast this. Let's get into some songs. The album opener, Never Forget. Great intro to the album. Immediately thought of two of the bands I brought up previously, Devil Driver and Amaranth. But it's also a good blend of what I think the traditional ELEINE style is, alongside the half Megadeth thing. The chorus on this one is unmistakably ELEINE. So even if there was an evolution here, I'm not as familiar with their older work as I'd like to be. They haven't betrayed what makes ELEINE ELEINE. Moving on, We Are Legion. This one has a really nice groove. I think it'd be great to vibe to this one live. When I'm at shows, I often do this I don't mosh, but I almost dance in place, like hopping on one foot or something. My step count for every show I ever go to is well over 20,000. It's kind of entertaining. So for old fucks like me that don't like to mosh, this one's got a great groove to it. There's a melody in the opening to this song that's reminding me of something. I think it's that weird System of a Down song that's all vowels, like ah-ee-ah-ee-ah-ee-oh. I haven't heard it in years, forgive me. Through the Mist. Here's another really good one with really great emotive vocals. I mean it in the best way possible when I say this song should have been longer. If I had to give one piece of criticism for this album, it's that all of the songs are like 3 to 4 minutes long. Maybe I'm just too stuck in the traditional ways of symphonic metal, but I'm looking for an album closer that's like 8 minutes long. You know, something with an atmospheric intro that sounds like snow's falling outside, and then a somber build-up to a very emotional first chorus where the drums come in for the first time, and then building up, getting much heavier, much faster, double bass, all guns blazing, and then a long sustained chord followed by a forlorn, slowed down outro. Fear of the Dark kind of wrote the blueprint for this. To be clear, I'm coming from a point of saying I think you guys could be compositionally adventurous here. Now, there is definitely an art to writing short, sweet, concise songs. Different realm, but I think it was Lewis Carroll who once said, if I'd had more time, I would have written a shorter letter. That said, they have 9 songs on this album between 3 minutes and just under 5 minutes long. Why not have one go for it? Moving on, last but not least, title track, We Shall Remain. This is a really great summation of the album. It was after this song that I realized, wow, half of this sounds like Megadeth and the other half doesn't. Since there is no 8 or 9 minute closer, I think putting this at the end was a perfect move. Definitely a solid album. I don't know if there's anything that's as memorable as Death Incarnate, but the median song on this album I thought was way better than just about anything else in ELEINE's set when I last saw them. In this regard, I was again reminded of Megadeth. Megadeth's 2007 album, United Abominations, has a song called Washington Is Next, and that is definitely the best song they've released since they reformed in 2004. Compare this to the follow-up album 2009's Endgame. Endgame's median track was way better than anything else on United Abominations, but that one standout was there. In this case with ELEINE, again, Death Incarnate was probably more memorable, but this is an album I think was just much more consistent than anything else I've heard by them. And keeping with that analogy, Endgame is a much better album than United Abominations, so I do think you've outdone yourselves. Rock on, guys.
Ever wonder what a punch from Elton John feels like?
Or how you'd cope with having turned down the chance to be in Nirvana?
Or what signal Keith Richards gives when he wants you to get the hell out of his hotel room?
Fans of Too Much Effing Perspective don't have to wonder, because they've heard these exact stories and a jillion others on our podcast. I'm Alex Hoffman, former tour manager for Radiohead.
And I'm musician and comedy writer Alan Keller. On the TMEP show, we get guests like Nancy Wilson from Heart, Jeremiah Freites from the Lumineers, and Modern Family's Julie Bowen to tell us things they may have only shared with their therapist, clergy, or a TMZ stringer.
So join us on Too Much Effing Perspective. That's EFFING Perspective. The only podcast you crank up to 11.